Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Michelle Gibbs, and I am passionate about helping scholarly mamas like you navigate your journeys with purpose so you can achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters. The reality is that scholarly mama life is multidimensional. We're scholars, yes, but we're also mothers, wives, and so much more with whole lives outside of academia. So how do we successfully navigate all this? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Only then can we begin the important work of becoming purposefully whole. And part of my own purposeful work is to create a space for us as scholarly mamas to grow, to reflect, and to become everything that we were meant to be. So, mama, are you in? Fabulous. Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey mamas, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a show where we empower PhD mothers to transform their struggles of juggling marriage, motherhood, PhD life, and everything else that comes with real life while doing a PhD, and transforming that struggle into their purposeful journeys of becoming. So today we're going to tackle a common challenge that you may face on your PhD journey. What do you do when PhD life throws you lemons? And anyone who has ever done a PhD will know exactly what I'm talking about. PhD life as a mama can be both rewarding and incredibly demanding. Juggling research, marriage, relationships, and parenting can sometimes feel like a never-ending obstacle course, honestly. But remember that challenges can also be opportunities in disguise. So when PhD life hands you lemons, we're going to talk in this episode about how you can turn those into something truly, truly sweet. So the first thing that you can do when PhD life throws you lemons is to reframe your thinking and embrace the lemonade mindset. Reframe your thinking and embrace the lemonade mindset. First and foremost, embracing the lemonade mindset is a shift that is required in order to tackle these lemons that PhD life may throw at you. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and your PhD journey is really no exception. So when you're faced with setbacks, remember that they can be valuable learning experiences as well. So when life throws you lemons, see them as opportunities to grow, to adapt, and to become a stronger researcher and mother. Challenges are part of the process of doing a PhD. Shoot, motherhood is no easy feat either. But remember that if navigating a PhD journey with kids in tow was easy, everyone would be doing it. So embrace those lemons and learn to trust the process. I have had my own share of lemons during my PhD journey, which I have just recently completed. For those of you who are new around here, I have been working on my PhD for quite some time. I've been doing it part-time while working and raising a young family. I've got 3 sons, and the youngest of whom is 2 years old at the time of this recording. And so I have had my fair share of ups and downs as I navigated this journey as a mum of 3. And I have also been building my marriage. I've been married for over 17 years, and I have been also enjoying married life while I have been navigating my PhD journey. So I've had my fair share of lemons on this journey and having to change paths and take a different route and try something new. So I'm not immune to any of that. And I can completely relate if you are in that position right now. So if that sounds like you and you are currently navigating your PhD journey with kids in tow, mama, believe me when I tell you, I get it. I feel you. I know this struggle very, very well. And so when I reflect on that journey, I think about the various lemons that I've been thrown. I've had changes in supervisors twice, which on the surface looks like it could be quite the recipe for disaster. But when I look back on it, I realize that in having to do that, it really got me very, very good at being able to defend my PhD decisions, being able to say, actually, no, I want to do it this way, or I want to try that idea, or I want to try this other method, or what have you. And so even though the changing in PhD supervisors was hard and it was a bit of a setback, it was actually a blessing in the sense that it taught me something. It allowed me to develop another aspect of myself on this journey. So that's one example. And also, I have had so many challenges. So I've done a clinical PhD in the sense that I had to recruit patients to my study, and that was really hard because as much as you may see people in a clinical capacity and people are happy to see you most times in that clinical capacity, seeing them in the research capacity is slightly different because in my case, at least, it wasn't something that affected their care and it wasn't something that affected their health necessarily, not directly anyway. And it's not something that they feel obligated to do. So you are having to learn how to sell yourself and sell your research as you are trying to recruit participants for your study. And so even though I did have lots of challenges in recruitment, I realized on reflection that it was actually a blessing again in disguise because it taught me to get better at pitching my research to patients who were then potential participants to get their buy-in, to get them to say, yes, I want to be a part of that process. And so that's, again, another example of how when PhD life is throwing you lemons, it's still possible to turn that into lemonade. It's still possible to turn that around and make that work for yourself. And then a third lemon that I was thrown in my PhD journey, I mean, there are others, but I'm just going to focus on these three today, is COVID. COVID came at a very unfortunate time in my PhD where I was just finishing up my recruitment and everything had to come to an abrupt halt. And I had to take an interruption from my PhD because of COVID and everything was on hold. Recruitment was on hold. Everything was on hold. And I also realized in that experience that even though that was a challenge and that was a setback, it was also such a blessing in disguise because my husband and I managed to conceive our third son in that time. And being off and being on break from my PhD allowed me to focus on looking after myself in my pregnancy and navigating pregnancy during COVID, which was, that was a bit tricky as well. I talk about that in another episode. But yeah, it was actually a blessing in disguise because I was able to rest and just focus on looking after myself. And I was able to spend some really memorable and creative time with the boys. Obviously, I was homeschooling at that time and that was difficult too. We're not saying that COVID was easy. I do have an episode where I talk about, the challenges that COVID brought upon my PhD journey. But it also gave me that time with the boys and we were able to do some pretty amazing things during that time. So yes, COVID was a huge setback for over 7.5 months of my PhD, during which time nothing happened and there was absolutely no progress. But when I look back on that experience, I realized that in many ways that was a blessing because I was able to do so many other things and I was able to look after myself as I was also pregnant. So reframing your thinking and embracing that lemonade mindset helps you to ride the waves of the challenges that your PhD journey can bring, especially if you're navigating, motherhood and marriage and relationships as well. So what else can you do when PhD life throws you lemons? Well, the other thing you can do is to seek support. You don't have to go through this journey alone. Seek support from your research supervisors or advisors if you're in the US. fellow students and colleagues, and most importantly, from your family. Don't be afraid to ask for help when needed. Building a support network can make a world of difference in juggling your roles as a scholar and a mother. So, what might that support look like? I remember listening to, I think I was watching potentially a video on YouTube, or it might have been a podcast. I can't remember at the moment, but I do remember this mom saying that people keep telling her about, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to do this and that as a mom. And she was like, well, where is my village? Like, I haven't got any family, I haven't got anyone around. And I felt like that at some point as well, because I remember when we first had our first son, the reality that we were in the UK, our family was in America and Barbados and elsewhere, and we didn't have that family support. We didn't have people to call on for childcare. We didn't have people that we could say, yeah, can you, watch my kids for a weekend while I catch up on work, or while I get some chores or some housework done, or get some errands done, or just get some sleep. We didn't have that. And so one of the realities that kind of hit me when we had our first son was that we can have a village, but we may need to pay for that village. And for us, that meant paying for childcare so that we could work, so that we could get on with things that we needed to do. So that I remember one time I needed to do Christmas shopping and I paid for an extra day at nursery just to be able to do that. So yes, it does take a village, but everyone's situation is different. Everyone doesn't necessarily have that family support nearby that you can kind of rely on for childcare, and you might have to pay for that childcare. And that support may not even necessarily only relate to childcare. In some cases, you may have to outsource help with chores, maybe get someone to do your ironing, or get someone to support you with cleaning the house, or get someone to support you with watching the kids while you get a couple hours of work done at home. And so again, it's a situation where you might have to pay for the help that you need, but it means that allows you to navigate the lemons that PhD life is throwing you. And it may allow you to just give you that space to be able to deal with a situation, unexpected situation that arises, or manage a difficult situation without necessarily feeling the pressures of having to also worry about looking after the kids. So what else might that support look like? It may look like therapy if you need that support, if PhD life is getting too much and you feel like it's impacting on your mental health. It might be that you need to seek support in the form of a therapist or a counselor. And there's nothing wrong with that, because remember that asking for help is enabling you to be able to manage a situation. And so there's nothing wrong with that. Support could also look like hiring a coach to help you reach your goals. If you want to, get your thesis completed, or you're struggling with motivation to see your goals through to completion. Or maybe you just need the support of someone who's been there and done that and navigated this journey, and you can learn the tips and the strategies that they've used and see how they could work for you potentially. And so it might be that you need to hire a coach to help you navigate that and to help you and support you and encourage you to keep going, give you tools and tips to help you through. Or it might be joining a community of like-minded mamas, like our Scholarly Mamas community, where you can be surrounded by people who understand this struggle and people who have been dealt those lemons before and have navigated those. So support could look differently for everyone, but knowing that it's okay to seek that support is one of the ways that you can navigate the lemons that PhD life may throw you. So another thing that you could do to help you navigate PhD life when it throws you lemons is to adjust your timeline and remember that the race isn't for the swift. So PhD timelines can be flexible, and it's okay to adjust yours when necessary. If life throws you lemons in the form of unexpected family responsibilities or health issues, consider discussing options with your PhD supervisor. They can help you create a more manageable research plan that accommodates your current circumstances. So I have been in this situation multiple times where I've had to adjust my timeline. I've had to apply for extensions. I've had to apply for more funding. I have had to change and tweak my plans all the way through my PhD. I have had unexpected surprises. For example, COVID. I have had things that have just not worked and I've had to change them. I've changed methodology. There have been a myriad of tweaks and changes throughout the entire PhD journey. And because of these, I have had to change my plans and change my timeline and go back to my Gantt chart and move things around. And I've accepted that that's just part of the process, And so I think being flexible is actually the number one key thing for mamas navigating PhD journeys and dealing with the lemons that PhD life will throw you. So yeah, it's not easy when you're dealt these lemons and, life changes and the PhD journey doesn't look the way you thought it would, and the timelines are different and things are taking longer and things are harder than you thought they would be. But remembering that the race isn't for the swift. In fact, the race is not even for the strong. It's for those who are ready, willing, and able to ride the waves as they come and see it through. So what I do is assess the damage and then I patch and play. I assess the damage and then I patch and play. I get back in that ring and give it all I've got. Maybe you need to change your plan, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen for you. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. So don't you go messing with your purpose. Remember, the race is not for the swift. So when life throws us these lemons, what else can we do? Well, the other thing that we can do, especially as mamas, is to prioritize self-care. Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity, especially for scholarly mamas. So when life gets challenging, make sure to prioritize looking after yourself. Take breaks, exercise, meditate, and engage in activities that bring you joy. A well-nurtured self is better equipped to handle the ups and downs of PhD life. So in short, when you look after yourself, you'll be better equipped to turn those lemons into lemonade. So what else can we do when the PhD life wants to throw us lemons? Well, the other thing we can do is to stay connected with our goals. During challenging times, it's so easy to lose sight of your goals. So take a moment to revisit why you embarked on this PhD journey in the first place. Connect with your passion for research and the positive impact that will have on your field and your family's future. In other words, remember your why and let that inspire you to keep going on this journey when the PhD life wants to throw you lemons. And so I just wanted to finish on this very last point on what you can do when the PhD life wants to throw you lemons, when things are not working, when life is, throwing you curveballs and you've got to change course, or you've got to take things slower, or you've got to take a different path, is that your PhD journey going in a different direction from what you imagine, it doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't reflect on you. It's no indication of your capability, of your potential, of what you actually can or cannot do, or even your outcome. It's simply that the PhD journey has taken a different path. So don't take it personally. Firstly, failure is not a life sentence. And change is not failure. None of these things define your worth. Remember that your PhD is what you do. It's not who you are. In fact, when you're doing a PhD as a mama, it's only one small part of what you do. You are so much more than your PhD. So don't let the times where things don't work as you expected them to or as you wanted them to, don't let that derail your entire journey. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. This is just something you're doing, and there's always a way around whatever failure or change you experience on this journey. So do not let it define your worth. And there you have it, mamas, my top tips on what to do when PhD life throws you lemons. Remember that you are resilient, you're capable, and you can overcome any obstacle that comes your way on this journey. These lemons can be turned into the sweetest lemonade, and you've got what it takes to do that. So thank you for joining me in this episode. I hope you found it helpful, and please consider sharing it with fellow PhD mothers that you know who may be facing similar challenges. And if you're looking for more personalized support on your PhD journey, especially if you are also navigating journeys of marriage or your relationships as well as motherhood, don't hesitate to book a discovery call. I will leave a link in the show notes and we can explore how we can work together through my coaching and membership services. So until next time, Mama, as always, I'm sending you lots of love and lots of gratitude. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, why not head over to mrsmummyphd.com. You can join the waitlist for our exclusive community of smart, purposeful, scholarly mamas. We'd love to see you on the inside. Remember, Mama, these are our journeys of becoming.